attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide. But can I just say this? I had on last week Ira Glasser, former longtime head of the ACLU, talking about free speech.
And The View is a particularly weird place to do a cancellation.
It's called The View?
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that it's called, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
That's correct. I think that's not actually.
Bill Maher has once again found himself at the center of a heated debate, this time with Sunny Hostin of The View. Few people expected the exchange to escalate the way it did, and the reaction quickly spread across television and social media. According to many viewers, Maher delivered one of his sharpest critiques of Hostin yet, turning what could have been an ordinary disagreement into a headline-making moment. This wasn't just another routine television clash, or a brief exchange of opposing opinions. Supporters of Maher argue that he challenged the core of Hostin's arguments with his trademark mix of humor and pointed criticism, while others believe he went much too far. Either way, the encounter immediately became one of the most talked-about moments in the ongoing conversation surrounding The View. Stay with us, because we're about to break down exactly what happened, how the exchange unfolded, and why so many people are still talking about it.
For color blindness, I think, is something that the right has co-opted. And so many in the black community, if I'm being honest with you, because I want to be, believe that you are being used as a pawn by the right and that you're a charlatan of sorts.
He's not a Republican.
So how do you...
He's never voted for a Republican.
You've said that you're a conservative.
No.
From Bill Maher's perspective, the criticism wasn't aimed at Sunny Hostin as an individual. Instead, he presented her as representing something much larger than a single television personality. In his view, she had become a symbol of what he believes is a broader problem within modern media and political commentary. That's what made his criticism so impactful. Once the discussion shifts from one person's opinions to what that person is perceived to represent, the debate becomes much bigger than the individual involved. In that framing, Sunny is no longer seen as just one co-host offering her perspective. She becomes a stand-in for an entire style of television commentary that Maher has criticized for years. According to his argument, when audiences begin viewing someone as a symbol of a larger issue rather than simply a public figure with personal opinions, every new statement they make is interpreted through that lens. Whether people agree with Maher's assessment or not, that's the framework he was trying to establish, and supporters argue that it's difficult to shake off once it takes hold because the conversation is no longer centered on one person. It has expanded into a broader debate about media, politics, and public discourse.
Same thing can happen to ideas if they are also conceived in an atmosphere of intellectual incest. Maybe take the clothespins off your noses and actually converse with the other half of the country. Stop screaming at people to get with the program and
Then came the moment that many viewers saw as the strongest challenge to Sunny Hostin's credibility. In a clip that quickly spread across social media, Bill Maher questioned whether her criticism reflected the full reality of the situation. He didn't raise his voice or turn it into a dramatic confrontation. Instead, he delivered the remark in his familiar calm, measured style, a style that many people find especially effective because it relies on quiet confidence rather than loud arguments. His central point was straightforward. He argued that Sunny's commentary relied more on emotion than on evidence. Whether viewers agreed with that assessment or not, the remark sparked widespread discussion. Once an audience begins questioning a commentator's credibility, those doubts can linger and influence how future statements are received. After all, every television host is entitled to express personal opinions. The larger debate begins when critics argue that opinions are being presented as unquestionable facts while overlooking or minimizing information that points in a different direction. That was the broader issue Maher was attempting to raise, and it quickly became one of the most talked about aspects of the exchange.
You know better, Senator Kelly. You know better. How dare you do that? You could go to the House. You can draw up paperwork. You can try to start articles of impeachment if you think there's something illegal. I mean, damn, it ain't like y'all haven't done it before. You impeached the man twice. Where'd that get you? Got his behind back in the...
At that point, one central criticism began to dominate the conversation surrounding The View. According to Maher and many of his supporters, the show often relies too heavily on emotional outrage, and they argued that this pattern was reflected in Sunny Hostin's responses to some of the biggest political issues. From their perspective, the criticism wasn't about one isolated comment, it was about a recurring style of discussion. They claimed that the reactions on the panel sometimes appeared predictable, with viewers feeling as though the emotional response was already decided before the conversation even began. Critics argued that certain viewpoints seemed to receive immediate support, while others were met with instant skepticism or pushback. Whether that perception is accurate or not, Maher's comments gave voice to concerns that some viewers had already been expressing. That's why his criticism resonated with so many people. Instead of focusing on a single exchange, he framed it as evidence of a broader pattern, turning the discussion from one controversial moment into a larger debate about consistency, fairness, and the way political conversations are presented on daytime television.
Back to everything, or have a hot take on everything, or care if someone says they don't like cats. You know, it wasn't that long ago when the most banal question you could ever ask someone was, are you a cat person or a dog person? Well, those innocent days are over, as actors Paul Mescal and Jessie Buckley found out recently when they were asked that and said they don't like cats. And the internet coughed up a furball.
According to Maher's critics of The View, Sunny Hostin becomes a particularly visible target because of the way she presents her arguments. They argue that she often speaks with a level of certainty that makes her conclusions sound definitive rather than open to debate. From that perspective, the disagreement is no longer simply about different opinions, it becomes about how opposing views are treated. Critics claim that those who challenge her arguments can sometimes feel as though they are being portrayed as morally wrong rather than simply holding a different perspective. Maher has repeatedly argued that this style of debate is one of the biggest weaknesses in modern political commentary. His approach is to highlight what he sees as excessive certainty and challenge it directly, often using humor and concise remarks to make his point. Whether viewers agree with his assessment or not, supporters believe that his ability to identify and question that style of argument is one of the reasons his critiques continue to generate so much attention and discussion.
They're fine. Most people would give their eye teeth to get a house like this in Purchase, New York. So why doesn't she just STFU? I've had it with these fakers who have all the advantages of being born and living in America and the American dream coming true for them. She said it's...
Then the criticism became even more pointed. According to reports and commentary surrounding the exchange, Maher argued that Sunny Hostin, and more broadly, the panel on The View, sometimes promotes narratives that, in his opinion, leave out important facts or context that could complicate the discussion. If that's how viewers interpret his argument, the debate moves beyond disagreements over tone or presentation. Instead, it becomes a question of whether the program is giving audiences a complete picture of the issues it covers. That's a much more serious criticism because it challenges the show's credibility rather than simply its style. For a daily talk show that relies on public trust and audience engagement, accusations of selective framing or incomplete context can generate significant debate. Whether people agree with Maher's assessment or reject it entirely, his comments shifted the focus from individual opinions to larger questions about balance, accuracy, and the responsibilities of televised political commentary.
In our modern age, starting with, if the headlines in your preferred news outlet routinely feature words like shreds, destroys, pummels, bashes, your outlet is a partisan piece of shit. Either that or you're reading a Batman comic. Ditto with obliterates, roasts, annihilates, and owns. You're supposed to be a source for information, not Nikki Glaser.
The discussion became even more intense when the topic shifted to Israel. According to Maher's supporters, this issue highlights what they believe is one of his biggest criticisms of Sunny Hostin's approach. They argue that she applies tougher scrutiny to Israel than to other parties involved in the conflict, creating what they see as an inconsistent standard. For Maher, who has been outspoken in his support for Israel while also commenting on the complexities of the region, that perceived imbalance is a serious concern. From his perspective, political commentary should apply the same principles and level of scrutiny to every side, regardless of ideology or affiliation. Supporters of Maher argue that when commentators appear selective in how they apply those standards, it can undermine public confidence in the discussion. Whether people agree with that criticism or reject it entirely, the debate quickly expanded beyond Sunny Hostin herself and turned into a broader conversation about consistency, fairness, and the responsibilities of media figures when covering deeply divisive international issues.
It's astounding to me that they can't tell the good guys from the bad guys. I mean, just morally. I mean, let me tell you, if you're for Hamas, just live in Gaza for a day. And I'm not talking about while the war is on. I mean, before the war. Trust me, you would go running and screaming and begging to live in Tel Aviv, a place that has your values. I mean, women have no...
According to Maher's critics of The View, that is where the real damage begins. They argue that if viewers come to believe a host's conclusions are predictable regardless of the facts being discussed, the most valuable asset any commentator has, credibility, can begin to erode. From that perspective, the issue isn't simply whether people agree or disagree with Sunny Hostin's opinions. It's whether audiences believe she is approaching each topic with an open mind. Once viewers start assuming they already know what a host is going to say before the discussion even begins, supporters of Maher's argument contend that the impact of those comments naturally weakens. They argue that confidence can start to feel more like a performance than genuine conviction, and carefully delivered commentary may come across as following a familiar script instead of reflecting an independent assessment of the facts. Whether that perception is fair or not, Maher has repeatedly suggested that maintaining public trust depends on convincing audiences that every issue is being evaluated on its own merits rather than through a predetermined narrative.
That's ridiculous, but it's a war.
Why?
It's a war. Because it's a war and they were attacked and they're defending themselves. Now, this is a war. Do you think Hamas needs to be destroyed? This is the question.
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
So how
Okay,
do we
well,
get out with a ceasefire?
All right. So
Future. Well, fear not, Sunny, because look at the picture she posted just the other day. Is her son graduating from Harvard? Yes, her black son graduated from Harvard, even though it's a country of white supremacists, and she's deeply, deeply worried for his future. I'm sure he has no chance ahead of him.
the problem with communism and with some very recent ideologies here at home is that they think you can change reality by screaming at it, that you can bend human nature by holding your breath. But that's the...
According to critics of The View, this pattern has been allowed to continue for far too long. They argue that although the program presents itself as a place for bold conversations and honest debate, an increasing number of viewers believe something very different is happening behind the scenes. From their perspective, the show has become an environment where certain viewpoints are welcomed, some facts receive far less attention than others, and emotional reactions often take center stage. Critics claim this creates an uneven discussion in which some ideas are reinforced while competing perspectives receive less consideration. Whether people agree with that assessment or not, it has become a recurring theme in the criticism directed at the program. Supporters of Maher's viewpoint argue that a discussion show builds its credibility by treating competing arguments fairly and allowing audiences to weigh the evidence for themselves, rather than appearing to favor one narrative over another.